Yeah. Hello. So we're just trying to figure some stuff out. Trying to make sure.
We've been joined by a special guest who gets all this stuff, so therefore it's now a little bit more complicated than it was.
Right at the end, yeah.
Working on it, and we are joined by Ben as well. He will be visible to you guys, hopefully sometime soon.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to trust us at the minute that he is in fact there. Looking very studious. Maybe you're just propping your head up.
Yeah, he's waiting. He's waiting.
Yep.
I'm just doing two things at once.
Of course. I mean, to be fair, that's how he got done what he got done today.
Exactly.
So Alan is pondering. There's some pondering going on.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. It's just that we're live, you know.
Oh.
Wrong way around.
That's you know.
Oh, Ben's the star of the show. I like that.
There we go.
Yes.
Hello, Ben. Right. Okay.
Ben,
So that
you're
works.
there.
Okay.
If only you could see it.
Oh.
He's
Was I not here before?
no, not for the world.
I wish I could make that full screen. I know that
That's
it's
very
way-
cool.
It's a bit small.
Yeah,
Is that
but
okay?
Yeah, it's better.
there we are. That's a bit better.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you happy?
Hey, Ben. All right. You're currently like hovering over us right now.
Yeah, right there.
I'm always happy now.
That's true.
Touche.
That's true. Okay.
Thanks, Ben.
Shall I'm just gonna for my.
Oh, we're just gonna check.
Peace of mind.
Oh, of course.
Oh, this is slick, isn't it?
It's so slick. It's so slick.
This is transparent.
Transparent,
Open and
man.
honest.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you happy?
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, not necessarily perfect.
Oof.
But
Oof.
as you're in
Strong
the middle,
claim.
You're right. Okay.
All right.
Good.
Okay.
On you go.
We're
Wow,
ready.
This is exciting. I get to be in the live stream.
Alan, thank you so much for joining us on the 5th day of our
Thanks so
On
much for
screen?
joining. Thanks so much for joining me.
on screen. Okay, on you go. You want to just introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm just gonna get my questions up here.
I was going to introduce you.
Sorry. Right.
Do you want me to do that?
was rude.
Yeah, you go for it.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
So today is day 5 of our Zero to Revenue Challenge, where we have taken a product from idea to revenue in 1 week. And you're going to have to forgive us if we're a little bit not so compass mentis, because they've been quite long days. That is why we have our good friend Alan with us today, because Briefing Room is going to go live in the next 20 minutes. But before we do, Alan has come from behind the camera to sit in front of it with us and just ask us a few questions about what this experience has been like and what we've created. So Alan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. So, how are you all feeling?
Ben, how you feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I guess I hope that what you have now at the end of this is something that you feel you can run with. That's kind of all I really care about, that it ticks, because it was never going to be polished in every single area, but I hope it's polished in the most important areas, and that it's something you guys feel you can now run with. If that is the case, then I'm a happy chappy.
And what about your what you were hoping to be able to do yourself? You know, you've never built a product quite like this in terms of the time period, right? Before, so what had you assumed in terms of how it was to be planned out? Did that work? I'll just shut up.
It worked out pretty much better than I expected, actually. I think. Yeah, I mean, this is usually my sort of standard approach. Really, is aggressive deadlines. So yes, this is a slightly one level up from that in terms of just being a single week.
Super aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, there were some things at the beginning of the week, or just a few days before that, when we were looking at the wireframes that you produced, and I earmarked a few things that I thought that probably not going to get around to doing those types of things during this week. And although they might not be exactly the same as your wireframes in terms of the sequence and everything else, I think we actually ended up doing those things. So. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I think things that I set out to do, done, and you guys kept quiet most of the time, which was good.
Challenging.
Get on with it, and that really helped. No, in a genuine way, I think you guys were obviously focused on the outputs and the marketing and everything else. So, which was nice. It afforded me the ability, the freedom, the luxury of just headspace. And I think that comes at a premium when you're condensing things into 1 week.
Rob, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling very tired, but very good. And I guess from a product perspective, it was really interesting just to watch some people use it a little earlier today. Even though I couldn't see their screens, what they were saying made a lot of sense. And the kinds of feedback that they were getting, it wasn't that they weren't able to do things, but a lot of the challenges that they were coming up against were things that aren't that hard to fix. Like they might be, they didn't understand what a word meant, so we just changed the word. And I think that a lot of to answer your kind of concern, Ben, I feel like there is something that we can sell. It's just a question of we might have to explain some things that might not be as intuitive as some people think, because obviously the way you do this is that you'd build it, you'd put it out, you'd watch a whole bunch of people use it, you'd go back and you'd change it. So we don't have time for that. But there are tools out there that help you bridge that, right? And I think that that's our opportunity to use. But I think fundamentally we were out for creating a beautiful room experience. We were out for making it customizable for each type of recipient that you're going to be sending it to. We wanted it to be easy for you to create an email update. And once you get up and running with everything and everything's set up, you can do all of those things. And it works really well. So I'm really happy with and I think, and personally, I know that Ben maybe disagrees, I think it looks really good too. So yeah, I'm really pleased, but tired.
No, it's good enough for a week's work. It looks good enough. There's no doubt about that. I guess. So I'm just thinking, if this were me moving forward to this, I would, obviously this is the first stage of many iterations. So I'm curious, how do you see this evolving over the coming weeks? Are you looking to sort of kind of go intentionally quiet on the sort of iteration front because you just want to listen, or are you kind of looking to do them in parallel, or do you have no idea at this stage? How do you see things evolving from this point forwards? Because it's obviously not literally put it out to the market, set it, job done. There's going to be more things required. So I'm curious to see how you feel that would need to be actioned.
I think the next week is going to have to definitely be about taking on board everything that we've learnt this week and then using that as a process to prioritise what does need to be actioned. And part of that will be through outreach to more and more people. So we know that actually the volume of people using it, running their trials, giving us feedback is going to help us navigate that. I think at the minute, because we've done such an intensive build within 1 week, we now need to do the outreach part of that, and that's why Product Hunt is a big part of that plan, to make sure that we get the volume of usage so that we can see what is it that we need to build next.
Yeah, good answer. Yeah. Makes sense. Well, it sounds like you're going to have a nice bit of headspace, next week to start to do that.
I also think we need to take some time to actually get to know the platform, just because it's so new that there might be little things like, before we were talking about, there's a feature that you have of setting an update into draft mode to active mode and to archive mode, which is a little bit clunky, right? Because why would you need that? What does that actually mean? But the fact that it was built that way means that you could actually have an update that is not sent in an email, but is still active on your briefing room.
Yeah. So the use cases can be, you don't want to ping your investors all the time and create more noise for them. But if you actually put up an update and they choose to go in and look at it, then you know that they're even more engaged.
Or when they do, maybe if you're setting up your briefing room and you're wanting to backdate your old updates, you could then add them in there and just make them active. It's just that they don't, but they won't be sent out.
So those more use cases are going to come to light the more that we're demonstrating and using the product.
But I never.
You're going to now see how people actually.
Yeah.
You give them, you can set statuses. You can choose to send it or not. Seeing how they actually use it will then inform the next iteration from a design or from a UX standpoint.
Yeah, for sure.
The design paradigms might completely shift, and it might be, as you said, Rob, a few days ago, it might be much more of an email building experience where you sort of build a preview and you physically move it from one status to another, and then only then do you get to see the email options. But it might be that people don't want to think of it as an email; they want to think of it first as an update that they then later on choose to send or not. So these are the kind of things that you'll discover, I'm sure, over the coming days.
I'm going to go off piste, but you've already gone off piste anyway.
I was going to say thank goodness, because they've totally gone rogue. We
Yeah.
gave Alan the job of being in charge tonight, and we've totally
Yeah, no,
steamrolled
I
him.
lost control straight away.
Lost control.
It's
Yeah.
fine. So when we're asking how do you feel, so you've dived straight into talking about features and this is, you know, and the product, but how do you feel personally? It's obviously unusual to live stream a week of work, but an intensive sprint over a week isn't so unusual. How does this kind of compare? Are you mentally drained? Have you found that you've been able to do things working like this that you just wouldn't have been able to do over a longer period of time? You touched on the fact that it's been quite good, I guess, that you've been remote, so you've had a bit of your own headspace, but you guys have been here the whole time together. So I'm kind of curious how you feel personally.
So I really love that challenge because we went right into operational, and that is great leadership to pull us back and be like, actually answer the question, because it's an important one when you've gone through something so intense. I think for me, speaking personally, I felt like the beginning of the week was much harder for me than the end of the week, even though like physically more tired, mentally more drained. We've been through this sprint that we've been through. But at the beginning of the week, and this just depends on your personality and your outlook, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what we would be building and specifically for who and what problem we were going to solve. I didn't know that the community would be something that would grow and that people would engage and interact. I did know that we as a team would be able to work together and we'd spend that time intensively together, and that would be okay. And that was kind of like a safe sanctuary for me to know that that was going to be a reality, but I didn't know the rest. And so now, whether it's been good things or challenges, bad or good, this whole week I now feel better because it's known rather than unknown.
Yeah.
So actually just now I'm feeling far more grounded, far more level, far clearer on what the next steps are.
Yeah.
Just because we've had a bit of, well, that's all behind us, that experience is behind us, and we can learn from that.
Yeah.
In some ways, I think the fact that like I think the person who worked the hardest this week, from the way that I viewed it, is Ben, just because you were building the product and I have no understanding of how that works. But your point about his remoteness, his being separated versus us working like right here, I do feel that if we were both remote and all of us were just like calling in 3 times a day and broadcasting that element live, and then we had to go off on our certain ways, I do feel like I would have probably gotten more done. But that assumes that everything else around this, like the zero to revenue part of it, wasn't relevant or wasn't useful. So I guess like on one hand, I wish that I would achieve more, like sent more emails to accelerators, tried to get more people to use it. Like that call that we did at 4, I should have done one every day, you know, all that kind of stuff. But that also negates then the outreach value that has been sitting around here and talking to people and drawing attention to it. So I think it's a little bit, it's complicated.
Do you think you've been as disciplined with timing had you not also got essentially the show, the live stream going on at the same time? Because you've come in here consistently at the same time every morning. You've started to establish a routine that potentially, from my experience, when you go into something that you don't quite like, how much is too much? How much is enough customer discovery and things like this?
True.
That you don't necessarily have these kind of clear, right, I'm going to 2
really
hours
time
of
boxed.
this.
And I think that if we all worked at the same company, right, and if we were all doing the same thing full time, I think that would be a danger. I actually think that like the fact that Ben is only available this week, we're only available this week, I think that would have probably, like I think that probably would have worked out then if we weren't doing it live, just because of the pressures of other things. But I mean, having to be here to make sure everything's set up and make sure everything's running, and then figuring out what we're doing, and then trying to work within the breaks to try and actually get other stuff done. You know, that did allow for some timing, but it did move you from headspace to headspace very quickly. So I don't know what would have been better.
And Ben, do you typically work remote, or would you prefer to co-locate during a period like this, during a sprint like this?
Yeah, it's interesting because I haven't thought about how that might be different because I am remote, so I just assumed it would continue to be that way for this week. But thinking about it now, I suppose actually it's probably on balance a good thing that it did stay that way. But I think for me, not for you guys, I think for you two who are doing the output, again I'm getting operational here. I think it was important that you were together. I don't think I would have worked as well had I been there, simply because I just needed to get my head down.
Yeah.
It was 5 days to literally build something from scratch, and so yeah, I'm not sure. Just thinking about it, whether that would have been the wise thing. Had it been 2 weeks or beyond, I think then you sort of can cultivate that sort of experience where you deep dive a bit more into sort of topics and decisions and everything else. I suppose generally, I love talking, as you can probably tell, and I love, but particularly discussing product and business and strategy and everything else. So I think it would have been lovely to have been able to play more of a role in that, but it wasn't the right thing for me to have done, and I feel just as clear about that now as I did at the beginning of the week.
Yeah, I agree.
It knowing that I had to be very cavalier and very focused on and disciplined in saying no to you guys in certain areas, but also not allowing myself to get too deep into conversations beyond our sort of check-ins.
Yeah.
And I think that feeling is consistent with me now. I think it was just the right way to do things. I know that's not really an admission or a sort of laying myself out.
But it's a reflection.
Yeah.
It's kind of just stating the bleeding obvious, I suppose. But,
I have a question though. So obviously we were overlapping in terms of what it is that we were doing all week. We were either comparing notes or helping each other out or trying to plan stuff together. But you were siloed. How do you think it would have been different if there wasn't just one of you, there were two of you working on the product versus just one?
It's an interesting one because, again, time frame influences this massively. So if this were a 1 month beyond project or 2 week and beyond, then having a team gives you, a development team, a technical team, gives you massive amounts of options because you can have someone leading from a technical standpoint, from an architectural standpoint, from a product standpoint, which is the sort of the role that I would naturally step into, and you can then really start getting some efficiencies there and productivity gains as well. But put that into the prism of a single week, and I think there'll be diminishing returns there. I wouldn't want to, unless you had 3 or 4 and beyond number of people. I think then it might work. But with 2 or 3, I don't know. I think there's a lot more to contend with that that from the outside seems superficial and silly, but actually you've got to think about committing and change logs and overlapping and planning so you don't conflict. I don't know. I think with the right person, I wouldn't have done it any other way than me doing it myself. Beyond that, a team would be a massive benefit. Yeah,
it's almost like when it's not so much about the stuff that goes right. It's also whenever there is something that goes wrong or a thought or an idea and it slips through the cracks. Right now, there's only one person that can pick it up. But if there were multiple people as well, you don't know. Oh, were you looking at that? Oh no, I thought. Oh, this was 2 days ago and we haven't built it. There's a much higher chance of confusion that can emerge.
I'm curious, I don't actually know that's this. Were you DMing much, or if any, on Slack? How much of the chat happens in private?
That's a really good question, and it's a decision that we took at the beginning of the week off the back of Ben realising that he really wanted to have a space and be able to get his head down, was that he did DM a lot about product with us, and then not because he didn't want to share, but because he then needed to make sure he wasn't being interrupted. So what we would do is we would take that information, the updates that Ben was regularly giving us, and he was really good at making sure and kind of prompting that, whether that was needs or questions or just an update for this is what's gone, then we would then share that with the wider community. So it wasn't so much on a transparency issue, it was a time issue so that Ben didn't get dragged into those kind of debates and feedback. So that's why both myself and Gil would pass that on.
Okay. There were a lot of...
From a planning standpoint, I guess that was all done at the beginning of the week and over the weekend, and so by the time I arrived on the Monday morning, there was, quite frankly, there was nothing that I really, apart from a couple of minor details, that I wasn't aware of from a delivery standpoint or a requirements
surprises
standpoint. So I I don't think there was much of a need to go backwards and forwards in terms of DMing and everything else to clarify details. In fact, most of that happened today when I had a bit of breathing space to actually respond to some of the feedback that had been collected over the last day or two. So the fact that we were all on the same sort of level, I suppose, with regards to what we were trying to deliver from a product standpoint, enabled a much more frictionless, sort of frenetic toing and froing.
Yeah.
So highs and lows of this week? One high, one low?
One high, one low.
I think the product looks really cool, and I think biggest high was experiencing a problem that I thought was going to be a really, really big problem that couldn't be fixed easily. So the changing the content from moving content around in the rooms, I was running into a lot of problems, like trying just to move it and get it in the right direction, and told that to Ben, and that was earlier this morning, and he was like, all right, it's a little complex, but I'll see if I can get to it. And I don't know if you were, we were debating, it almost seemed like, Ben, you were pulling a Scotty from Star Trek, and you're like, I don't know if I'd be able to get it done today. And then 20 minutes later you'd say, oh, by the way, that's done now.
I've done it.
So I think that was actually a huge high, because it was a core bit, and I kind of went out there and said, hey, Ben, it would be great if this actually worked better. And he understood that. He took it, he ran with it, and it works really nicely now. And so it was. I know that's from a product side, but it was like I was a bit worried about how that would be, and that wasn't an issue. In terms of low, my inability to reach out to enough accelerators and funds. I'm disappointed in that. So it's something that then I need to work on next week. But why couldn't I have gotten more of that kind of outreach done? So that was a bit of a low.
Why do you think that was? What was the thing that was the blocker?
I want to say all the other stuff that I had to do. Was it though? I'm not sure. But I mean, I think that if I was working at home with nobody else here, I think I would have just sat down, made a giant list, come up with a whole bunch of copy, sent it to a few people, send it to Lizzie, make sure that it all works, line it all up, and then just do it all in chunks. But here I had to do maybe a half hour doing this, half hour doing that, half hour trying to do some research. And so it really, I don't know, I feel like I'm pretty good at jumping around for things, but there was just too much jumping.
But
I think
also
to get me.
Humans actually aren't meant to multitask.
I know, but you think you are.
You think that you can.
Yeah, you think
and
you
we
can.
all think that we can. And there's gender roles with that as well. But it is nonsense. I think that's the brain fry you were describing earlier in the week, the mental fog. It is, because you're constantly thinking about all the different layers, and definitely with us, we were just switching headspace all the time, and not even really by choice, being pulled from one thing to another.
Yeah.
So having the agency to choose what you're going to work on, and having that for the next chunk of time that you have chosen, I think there's something in that.
Sure, but we did choose this, right?
Sure, we chose the chaos.
We should have designed the chaos better.
That's
what I'm feeling like,
Well, that's now how I feel,
I
and
know,
this is just the way that it goes for me. We went through this week, and now I'm like, if we did it next week, I would know how we would do it 150 times better.
Yeah, exactly.
But things that we could not have known. So you said we should have designed it better. I could not have designed it better until we did it.
I agree. I'm just saying in terms of a frustration point.
But what is amazing is that I definitely have a list already that I'm I need to get that on paper, because there's stuff right now that I know that we would just be, we sort this, it would be so much simpler.
But you've got two types of multitasking. You've got literally the multitasking of you're on camera right now as you're doing something. So you're having to hold two things concurrently, and then there's just very fast context switching between stuff.
Right.
That's true.
People have a different amount of time before they can get into kind of a state of concentration for something.
Yeah.
So if you're doing that, some people might take 5-10 minutes for certain things, other people are going to take 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then anyone, I think, is universally affected by if you've got a slight distraction in the room, such as a camera or someone moving around, or that's going to affect your
You would notice that anytime, anyone who's watching would notice that anytime someone came in the room.
Yeah.
Definitely, I would just do what I did there. I'd be like buffering slowly in my mind. Like, why is that a distraction? Someone walking around silently.
High and low?
Oh, for me. So I think a low was, I want to say Tuesday, it might have been Monday, I can't really remember now, when we had the discussion about how were we going to market this thing, how were we going to sell this thing, and Ben had really good challenges about, we're talking about 1 week, like what is going to have a return on investment in outreach of 1 week. And I think the challenge was really good. That wasn't the low. The low was, I don't know the direct answer. I like to know the answer. I like to at least know these are the things I'm going to test and try out. I feel like at the beginning I was definitely doing a lot of, I'll try this direction, I'll try that direction, and a lot of meandering, and I didn't feel like I had a focus and I knew what I wanted to deliver. So that definitely felt like a low. And in terms of a high, I would agree with Gelbs, like today's been phenomenal, but to pick a different high, I absolutely loved Wednesday afternoon when we had our live teardown, because that was even more impressive because we had a working, functional product to test with 2 people who, one, they came in and supported us from the local ecosystem. They weren't founders themselves, they came in with expertise and gave us their time. We had them in person, which for me just gave me like a whole boost of energy because they were here, they were interacting, they just seemed really into it, and the fact that we were doing a zero to revenue challenge. But for me, the high was because Ben had delivered something that we could actually test with real humans halfway through a week.
Yeah, that was only
Phenomenal.
3 days. Yeah.
Ben, you should start with a low, so you end on a high.
Low was that I wasn't able to give you a different, improved, in my mind, design.
Knew he was going to say that.
Thinking, right, well, I'll start off with kind of the stock design that I've used for a lot of the bootstrap stuff that I've done before, knowing that will give it's a really good start, solves a lot of the interface problems and blah, grid columns and all that sort of stuff. But knowing that I'll probably improve it as each day goes by, and I didn't really get around to properly doing that. So I wish I could have given you a bit more of a branding identity there that just felt a bit more different. But it's great to hear that you like it, and that's fine. But yeah, I would have liked to have done a bit more there.
Sure.
My high was that from a pure product, functional, and on a high level, just basic planning standpoint, I couldn't be happier with how consistent I was in delivering on a day-to-day basis. So the planning I've done, the week before, in terms of what was going to get delivered, the types of work, the sections that were going to get delivered and focused on each day, pretty much to the T was met and beyond. So, and then the fact that I was actually able to give you stuff to do teardowns midweek and ultimately deliver at the end is a massive sort of win, I think, and I'm happy to be able to do that.
Cool.
How are we doing for time?
I think we're
that's
we're good.
us, yeah.
I think we're ready to not pull the plug, to plug the thing in, to press the
go.
button.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that.
All right. So Ben, you won't be able to see this, but we're
But for everyone else
For
involved,
everyone
you're
else.
going to love it. We're going to launch Briefing Room,
Yeah.
the product that we have built in a week.
But wait, how are you launching it? Are you going to...
we've just said it's launched, Ben.
Oh, Ben.
Ben, it's
you
launched. It's
totally
out.
broke
It's
me.
done. It's done.
Ben.
How was it launched?
Because we've said that it's
Launching is a state of mind, man.
Reminds me of a quote by Yoda.
I wouldn't know it.
Literally just because we've said, hey, it's launched and there's a nice fancy graphic on the screen. No?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's it. Yeah. So now we
So
put a nice.
we maybe should have told you that beforehand, but
yeah.
I love that. That should be the highlight role.
If you want to migrate over there.
Though, have you actually updated the DNS?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so
He's being so practical, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know.
We'll do that.
We didn't have time. We
I
will.
want people to find.
Oh, I see.
All right. Well, I'll do that. I'll literally
We'll
do that right now.
And then it will actually be live.
Well, for some, it can take 48 hours.
Oh my god.
So then that's why we launched on Friday night. Well, so it was just to save us from this buffering while you do the thing, but I think we should maybe wrap up the live stream.
Yeah.
And say thanks for joining us for this week.
We're so on there.
And thank you very much, Ben,
Yeah,
for
Ben,
everything
thanks
that
for your
you've done. been awesome.
Yeah, and thanks to Alan and his team and the equipment, which has been fantastic to have. And we're really happy to be keeping the journey going. We will be in touch on Slack. We'll let you know our plans for Product Hunt, and keep telling us the products that you're working on, and we'll give you a shout out when we can.
Before we go off,
Yes.
We could just pull the camera back and they can actually see.
Oh, yes, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Tom, if you pull the camera back to,
So-
the corner of the room.
Expose the
You can
whole
kind of
space.
see a little bit about what we were.
Oh, and also we
Yeah.
couldn't finish the day without mentioning our shiny t-shirts because it's Friday.
That some of us have.
Ben, you wouldn't let anything slide.
All right, you'll get one in the mail then.
So yeah, this is our room. This is where we've been living all week.
Yeah,
If you want to zoom it out, maybe would that work? Let's see.
Ah, the green screen.
I feel like you guys should go over and sit. Just a quick honorary.
Oh, okay. All right.
Pull back the curtain.
Pull back the curtain. So yeah, Ben's been broadcast on this screen back of us. I don't know if this is even gonna pull. There's so many wires here.
Oh man, we're not going to be
Oh.
the other TV.
iPads, that's what we were. You were going to walk around the. You're going to.
I was. I haven't done that. We should do
Oh. So yeah,
You can
Ben,
still do
I
that.
don't know if actually if you can see this or not, but you can kind of see the setup right there.
Ben's here.
That
Oh.
completely breaking the green screen.
I know. Completely breaking the green screen.
Yeah, that's.
So
That's
so
very
yeah,
happy.
You don't have your mic on anymore.
that's okay. Hopefully this listens. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ben, for joining us on this. I think it's been really fun. I think this is a really nice picture. I think we should need to get a screen cap. So literally, you are filling up the green screen right now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we do.
In the picture. There we are.
Oh,
That's
look
good.
at the teeth.
That's cool. All right. Well, thanks very much. Thanks, Ben. It's definitely wine o'clock.
It is, absolutely. Yes, no, pleasure, and don't let me down. I want this to be turned into a super
Yes.
successful business.
Yes, sir.
No small feats, no small challenge.
Yep.
But just remember the wise words of Yoda, and I'm sure we're going to see you on the right path.
Thanks, Ben.
Alrighty. Good night.
Yeah.
Love you, bye, guys.
Thank
Well
you
done.
too.
Oh, am I literally done now, Rob?
you're literally done.
Take a screenshot.
What goes for it?
Wait, we need to take a screenshot.
No, I think we're gonna use that, right? Or I mean, do you want to take a screenshot?
Okay, cool.
Oh, bye bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye. See ya.
See you, Ben. We got it.
We'll just use this.
Oh my goodness. That was hilarious. Have you literally launched it?
You literally launch it. Well, but what does he expect?
No, I was like, no, of course not. We're just doing it for the camera.
I looked at his DNS
Are you still
thing
streaming?
Also, yeah, I know we're still streaming. But I looked at his DNS thing and it's like, no way, dude.
You
No,
can work
I'm
it
not
out.
touching any of that.
He said
man.
earlier, for those that missed it, oh yeah, you'll be able to work that out. Nah.
No. It's just.
Also, we haven't put it out.
It's just crazy.
So yeah, thank you. We should say bye.
We should say bye.
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 Do you want me to set everything off or are you?
Disable. Okay, we're done. Thank you very much. That's great. That was great.